Here's what they don't tell you about sales. It's not about closing or objection handling. It's about trust. Because the reality is, if every prospect trusted you blindly, your close rate would be 100%. So in this video, I'm breaking down 12 different concepts you can use to build trust on any call with any prospect at any price point. And with these concepts, I've closed millions of dollars, made $50,000 a month in commissions, as well as helped the team scale from 0 to 700K per month. So trust me, you don't want to miss this. I want you to commit to watching this video in full because any one of these concepts could be the difference between a prospect trusting you and not trusting you. With that being said, let's dive right in. The first concept is going to be baby negatives, and in simple terms, what this means is sharing the honest negative before you go into the positive or the benefit, and that makes the benefit 10 times more believable. I got this concept from one of my mentors who was a sales manager making $250,000 a month, as well as Alex Hermosi. He talks about this concept and refers to a very famous Viagra ad that has a warning on it that says, if an erection lasts longer than 4 hours, seek medical attention. And the reason that this works is because they highlight the negative consequence of the positive, and that amplifies the believability of the statement. And here's what it looks like on a live sales call. Generally, I drop the price before I get into the pitch, and I'll start off by saying something like this: Mr. Prospect, and I'll be honest, this isn't a get rich quick. This is not gonna be easy. And truth be told, getting to $15,000 a month with this business model is probably gonna be one of the hardest things you've done in your entire life. But I can tell you this for a fact: if you show up, you put in the work, and most importantly, you listen to what coach has to say, a year from now, you're gonna look back and be like, who the fuck was I? You won't even recognize yourself. The reason that this works is because I highlighted all the negatives beforehand. So when I say the positive, that if they listen to coach, they'll change their whole life, they won't even recognize themselves, that statement is more believable. And talking about the negatives openly makes you seem like the trusted salesperson rather than the guy who just brushes over the negatives and only talks about the positives. This builds a lot more trust. So implement this on your next sales call. Concept number 2 is very simple. You always want to verbalize to the prospect that you want them to reach their goals. When you let the prospect know that you want them to reach their goals, it positions you on the same side as the prospect. Not only does this make them trust you more, but they're gonna be a lot more open to you challenging their beliefs because they know you're on their side. And being on the same side as the prospect is gonna be key while objection handling, while reframing, and while challenging their beliefs. Because if they know you have their best intention at heart, they're gonna believe what you say a lot more. This is something that you can apply on every single sales call when they tell you their desired outcome. Concept number 3 is gonna be holding them accountable to their own weak language. So every time the prospect uses a limiting belief or weak language, use this as an opportunity to build more trust and position yourself on the same side as the prospect. So if they tell you, yeah, I hope I can make $15,000 a month, I hope I can reach my goals, challenge them like, is this only a hope? And then they're gonna correct themselves and say, no, I'm gonna make it happen. This empowers the prospect and puts you on the same side as them. And having a prospect that believes that they're gonna make it happen and they stop using this limiting language in the discovery is gonna lead them to have a lot more certainty within themselves, which is gonna lead to them taking action. Concept number 4 is gonna be non-negotiable, especially if you wanna be a closer at a high level. And this is to make sure that your non-verbal and your verbal communication match, right? So if you're doing a concerned tonality, you need to match your facial expression as well as your body expression, or else it's gonna sound like you're doing a sales tactic or you're faking your tonality. And what this looks like on a sales call is, can't imagine, that even being easy. How's that sort of been on you, man? You drop your tonality, you showcase visible discomfort, you do a little sigh. At the end of the day, as a salesperson, you need to be a chameleon. Based off of who you're talking to, you need to change how you speak to them. Based off of which section you're in the sales call, you need to mirror the emotion that you need them to feel, right? There's a concept in psychology called the emotional contagion, which says people unconsciously mirror the emotion that the other person is showcasing. So if you're calm, you're worried, or if you're excited, the prospect will mirror that. So if you're talking about their goals, be a lot more excited, have a smile on your face, be excited to talk about those things. They're gonna be more excited too. And when you're talking about what happens if they don't take any action and they just keep doing things the way that they always have, drop your tone. they'll be in a more worried of a state, and this way you can draw the right emotion that you need to, which will allow you to close the deal and help out the prospect more. And the next concept is gonna be always call out the elephant in the room. So if you sense that something's off, the prospect seems a bit nervous or a bit skeptical after you drop the price, do not be an amateur and just brush past it. If you sense that there's something on the back of their mind but they're not saying it, you need to take charge, control the room, and call it out, right? If not, if they're just thinking about the price and you go to the pitch, they're not gonna be present, they won't listen to your questions. They might answer, but they're not there with you. So never brush past it. And what this looks like on a sales call is very simple. If you drop the price, you sense that they're being a bit nervous, before you get into the pitch, have a real moment with them. Unshare your screen, put that to the side, and have a down-to-earth conversation. What this looks like is, Mr. Prospect, can I be completely honest with you? They say yes. And I've been on thousands of calls just like this, and I'm sensing that you are a tad bit nervous. Is that safe to say? They're gonna say yes. Always downplay the emotion that you sense them feeling. If you say you seem very nervous because of the price, did it scare you? They're gonna say no, they might get defensive. But if you downplay it, that opens the door for you to figure out what the prospect is feeling. This way you can reframe it. This way you can share an analogy. This way you can handle the underlying fear before it turns into an objection at the end of the call. So take every opportunity you can to call out the elephant in the room and figure out what fear the prospect has, what has them a little bit uneasy. Have the deeper level conversation there. Don't just be surface level. Pre-handle it, reframe, do whatever you need to do, and then get permission and then get back into the call. This is gonna allow you to close more deals and prevent objections before they turn into an objection. Because if the objection shows up before and then you're able to pre-handle it, it's a lot better than the objection being right beside the moment where you ask for the sale. Because if you wait till the very end, there's gonna be a lot of tension for the prospect because they're still nervous, and then now you're asking for the sale, versus if you handled this beforehand, they have a bit of time to make peace with it. You go through with the pitch, you show them the value, now they justify why it goes for this much, and then by the time you ask for the sale, it's already been 5 or 6 minutes and they've had time to digest it and make peace with it, not be in that state of fight or flight. This strategy is gonna allow you to skip all the bullshit, skip all the smoke screens, and have a real conversation with the prospect. Next concept is gonna be to relate with the prospect during vulnerability. If you yourself are a closer, you've been through a lot of that journey that people are looking to go through, right? And relate with the prospect, right? If, for example, you ask the prospect how much money they have in the bank and they seem a little bit uncomfortable and they tell you, yeah, I only have $4,000 in the bank, right? Respond with something along the lines of, at the end of the day, brother, I'm not gonna judge you for being in a rough position. I've been in that same position for a majority of my life. But the only thing I will judge you on is if another 6 months go by and we're still in that same spot, because that's on you. And then they're gonna agree to it. This does a few different things. Number one, it builds subtle authority because they can sense that you're not in that same position anymore. Number two, it gets them to agree that they cannot stay in the same spot. This creates accountability within themselves, as well as a little bit more internal urgency because they verbalize to you that they cannot stay there. Also, it removes the shame from them being in a hard spot, and they're gonna be a lot more likely to open up to you about what they're actually feeling and their pain points from being there, which obviously you can use to help out the prospect, close the deal, and allow them to make a change in their life. And there's psychology behind this as well. So people trust competent individuals more when they admit a small flaw or a mistake. So if you're a closer who has high authority on sales calls, you present yourself well, you already have that authority. Now, admitting little flaws is gonna build a lot more trust and make it more human. So use this on your sales calls when you sense that, they do feel a little bit uncomfortable and they're being a little bit vulnerable with you. This is the best time to build a bit more trust. Next concept is gonna be reframe with relevant analogies. Because at the end of the day, if they understand something and you use that in an analogy, they're gonna understand that a lot more versus just using a random analogy or trying to get some surface level agreement or surface level reframe, which just breaks at the end of the call when you ask for the sale. Now, what this looks like on a sales call, if a prospect just told you that, I don't have the money to start a business, that's why I never started, or I don't have the time, whatever it may be, obviously, number one, get permission from the prospect to share a different way of thinking. Ask them, do you feel like the people that go out there and see massive success in their life, do you feel like they just look at external factors and blame them for not having the results? Or do you feel like they look inwards and do what they can do to make a change? they're always gonna say the second option. And then now you share a relevant analogy, right? If they go to the gym, you could say something along the lines of this. You saying that you don't have enough money to start a business is like me saying I'm not jacked enough to go to the gym, right? It doesn't make any sense because you go to the gym to get in shape, to get jacked, right? Same thing with a business. You start a business so you can have more money and have more time to spend with your kids. Same sort of thing. This sort of analogy where you relate it to something that they already do is gonna create a lot stronger of an agreement than just some surface level agreement that breaks at the end of the call. Now follow this up with asking them a question along the lines of, and yeah, Mr. Prospect, what way of thinking around money and starting do you feel like you need to let go of so that we can make sure the next 3 years of our life looks totally different than the last 3? Now they're gonna tell you, oh, I need to let go of the way of thinking where I let money stop me from starting, or I blame time as an excuse. Now you could get them to double down on it as well. This will lead to a stronger agreement, which will last throughout the entire call. Another concept came to mind, it's not on the sheet, so feel free to take note of this. Very simply, use words like us, we, our, to position yourself on the same side as the prospect, right? And this is gonna be an example where I overdo it, but saying something along the lines of, what sort of way of thinking do you feel like we need to let go of so that we can make sure we reach our goals? But speaking like this as if it's our goals, what mindset do we need to let go of so that we can reach our goals? That sort of verbiage is gonna position you on the same side as them. So use that on your sales calls. Now, concept number 8 is gonna be to talk with the prospect about deeper level things that they'd only talk to with someone that they trust. What this is gonna do is create familiarity with you because they generally talk about these topics with someone that they trust, right? So talking about their kids, deeper fears, their goals, something that they're proud of that they generally talk to their best friend or their family members with, that puts you in that same category, right? So if they, for example, if they mention that they have kids, don't just brush past this, lean into it, right? Talk about them, right? I heard, I'm not a father myself, not yet, but I heard that, when you become a father, it's like you're not just, living for yourself anymore. Boom. Now they talk a little bit about that. One more thing I did there naturally is called verbal pacing, right? I don't stutter when I speak. I don't need to think when I speak, but I naturally slow it down so the prospect can digest it in little pieces. And if you ask a question really fast, right, like, how are your kids? They're gonna say good. It's natural for a human to respond quickly. And, Mr. Prospect, I wanted to ask you, like, how have your kids been over these last 3 years? Now they're gonna give a lot deeper of a response where they actually think about it because you paced out the question a little bit longer. So use this. If you want them to give a short answer, if you wanna cut off the prospect if they're rambling, ask a fast question, boom, get an agreement, switch to the next thing. But if you want the prospect to go deep, slow it down, maybe look around a little bit, make it seem natural. This is gonna lead them to open up a lot more and talk deeply about the things that you need, that you can leverage to close the deal. Now, the next concept is gonna be have a low pressure intro to the sales call. Frame yourself as the trusted older brother or the trusted advisor, not the salesperson, right? This is a mistake that I see a lot of closers do, especially when they're starting out below 10K per month, is have an overly authoritative intro, which doesn't even build any real authority. And all it does is create sales resistance within the prospect. Because sales resistance isn't something that a prospect is born with. You create it brick by the way that you talk to the prospect. So if you jump on the call and let them know, yeah, my calendar's super busy, I got around 45 minutes here for you. How this call's gonna go is I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and if everything seems like a good fit, I can run you through what we offer. All that's gonna do is spike sales resistance. You don't need to try and be big dick when you just met the prospect. What you need to do is build trust rather than that quote unquote authority, which does not work. Start off the call super chill. Make it as if you're catching up with an old friend, right? Create familiarity, which will allow the prospect to open up. That way you can use the emotion to close the deal and help them out. So very simple. I like to open my sales calls with something warm. Nice to finally put a face to a name. Heard a few good things about you from setter name or offer owner name. How's everything in your world? Put the ball in their park. They can say as much or as little as they want. You could probe on it, 30 seconds, 1 minute, quick rapport. If not, Use what you see in the camera frame in their background or something from their notes. Build a quick rapport, 30 seconds, 1 minute. And then I'd say something along the lines of, yeah, and the way these calls usually go, they're super chill. I just want to see if I could really help you out. Would it be cool if I asked you a few questions just to see if we could help? They always say yes. And they also know that the reason you're asking a bunch of questions is to help out the prospect, right? And this is backed off by psychology as well. It's called the Ben Franklin effect. If you ask someone for a small favor or permission to ask questions, they're gonna like you a lot more, which results in them trusting you a lot more. So ask for permission before you drill them with questions and dive into your discovery. This is gonna lead to a lot smoother discovery where they actually open up to you and talk about their problems rather than the surface level responses that you're used to getting. So concept number 10 is gonna be to always tie their goals to an emotional outcome. And you can use this specifically when you're gaining hard commitments or yes lettering the prospect, which you shouldn't obviously overdo. You need to know how to do it to keep it seem natural, but very simple. What does this look like on a sales call? Let's say you ask the prospect, how committed are you into investing into yourself? They might say maybe, they might say yeah and kind of mean it. Versus on the flip side, if you ask the prospect, how committed are you into investing into yourself so you can get the right skill set and finally be able to retire your mother? They're always gonna say yes because you've now tied getting the skill set and investing into themselves to retiring their mother. And they've made that tie in their mind as well. So connect the goal to the emotional driver, connect that to investing into themselves, connect that to overcoming fear, connect that to letting go of a limiting belief that's held them back so that they can X, Y, and Z, so that they can take care of their family. That's gonna make the agreement a lot stronger rather than just some weak surface level agreement that breaks at the end of the call when you're asking for the sale and then the prospect is in fight or flight. Very simple. Use this on every sales call. Now, concept number 11 is gonna be actually listening to the prospect and genuinely being present, right? In a world where everyone's distracted, just giving the prospect 100% of your attention is gonna be so powerful. They're gonna be like, fuck, this guy actually gives a shit. This guy's not just thinking about the next line on his script. He's not just, on his phone, waiting for me to finish talking, waiting for his turn to talk. But if you show genuine interest, right? Show them not just that you're listening, but verbally nod when they're talking. Change your facial expression. If they say something rough, it's hard for you to see as well. When they're talking about their goals, boom, have a smile on your face, be excited for the prospect. This shows them that you're actually listening, right? If they talk about hardship, be a little bit more uncomfortable. What doing this does is actually shows the prospect that you give a shit, and it makes the prospect feel heard and feel seen, which is gonna allow them to wanna open up more. If the prospect is talking about something important to them and then you just cut them off and ask them a leading question, they're gonna be like, this guy doesn't care. Versus if you wait for them to finish, you're nodding, your facial expression matches. Like in concept number 4, make sure your facial expression, your body language matches your tonality. They're gonna be like, fuck, this guy cares. And that's so rare from salespeople because they're always worried about what am I gonna ask next? How am I gonna overcome the objection? How am I gonna close the deal? But genuinely just sitting down with the prospect, giving a shit, trying to uncover, what's going on with the prospect and making them feel seen and heard is gonna allow them to trust you a lot more. That way you could provide them the solution and that way you can help out the prospect. So listen like you give a shit because you should give a shit or else you're not gonna make the money you wanna make in sales. Because at the end of the day, money, commissions, all of that stuff's cool, but you need to have a good heart. You need to give a shit about the people that you're talking about and have their best intention at heart. I don't know about you, but me personally, I'm a man of faith and I'm a strong believer in if you do the right thing and you focus on putting people first, God will reward you with the money, with the commission, with the success in business. And that's something I've held with me way before I got into high ticket sales, and it's always served me. So if you are not doing that now, start doing that. Start putting people first, start walking with faith. That is only gonna serve you. Now, concept number 12 is mirroring the language that the prospect uses back at them, right? Very simply, just repeating the exact words that the prospect used. It just shows them that you're listening and that you care, right? Very simple. If they say a specific income goal or somewhere that they want to be, repeating that back to them when you gain commitment, that's going to show them that you're listening, right? If they use a specific word to describe their pain, use that exact same word. This makes them feel that this guy actually listens and he actually cares. And the difference between a prospect trusting you and doesn't often comes down to this. Because at the end of the day, if you say something incorrect about their goal or about their pain point, they might just brush past it. They might not call it out. They probably won't. But deep down, they're gonna be like, yeah, this guy's not paying attention, or it wasn't actually that. And that just creates internal friction, which you do not need the prospect to have. And at the end of the day, you're gonna make more money by listening, and the prospect's gonna feel better about it. So why not just listen? Mirroring their language back ties directly to concept number 11, where you listen and then you mirror that language back to them. It makes them feel heard. So that wraps up the 12 concepts. If you found this video helpful, check out my community Close Your Circle, where you're gonna get access to my entire sales framework along with the deeper psychology behind it. Also, every single week we do an in-depth mastermind where we do call review, role plays, in-depth analysis of sales calls, as well as I'm gonna break down a lot of deeper level concepts which I just do not do on YouTube. And you might think that it goes for thousands of dollars, and it probably should, but it goes for $28 a month, because what I care about more than the money is making a change on someone's life, giving someone the access to the right level of training so that they can go out there, change their lives, and take care of their families. That's what gives me joy. Also, for the next handful of people that join, I'm personally gonna be onboarding you and giving you a one-to-one strategy session, which I usually charge $800 for. But this call, purely we're gonna discuss where you're at, what you need to improve on, as well as a fixed game plan that you can follow so that you can double your commissions in the next 60 to 30 days. With that being said, if you're stuck below 20K per month, there's no excuses. The link is below for those of you that are ready to get to the next level. I'll see you on the other side.